Welcome to the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Permit Renewal and Expiration Training. Hopefully this will help you better understand the permit renewal process and some of the other aspects relating to permit renewals and expiration. First, we can go over an introduction to permit renewal and expiration. Permits have a fixed expiration date. Payments of annual permit renewal fees is mandatory to maintain compliance, and if a permit lapses, the facility faces costly, time-consuming consequences. If a permit is retired due to non-payment, a new permit application may be needed, and the entire permitting process would need to be restarted. Violation penalties would also need to be paid as a result of operating without a valid permit. Additionally, the presentation will cover violations and payments due when failing to renew a permit, documents required and differences between ownership change and contact updates, placing a permit in an active status, and retiring a permit by request. This slide shows an actual invoice issued by the district. The top right of the form lists the due date and the amount due. This amount includes all fees associated with both the site ID as well as all associated permit IDs listed under that site. An itemized breakdown of the fees can be seen at the bottom of the page. Lastly, make sure to verify the date and when you are making the renewal payment. If the payment is made late, then the late fee box on the right-hand side is your new total. For example, the amount due by August 22nd, 2025 is $658. If you were to pay later than this date, you now owe the total including a late fee. For this specific example, let's say we missed the original due date on the top right, and we ended up being ready to pay on December 23rd, 2025. Since we are now after the listed December 22nd late fee window, you would now need to pay the district $1,052.80 before the permit can be renewed. Payment should be postmarked by the invoice due dates. This includes late fee due dates as well. Now we can discuss renewal invoicing and contact information. Invoices are sent to the facility site address and contact name on file. If contact info is outdated, facilities may miss renewal notices. Please always confirm and update your information to avoid unnecessary penalties. All permitted facilities are required to pay renewal fees for the site as well as individual permits on an annual basis. Invoices are mailed out approximately 60 days before the permit expiration date from the district. Please contact the district Permits Department if you do not receive an annual invoice before 30 days of the permit expiration date. You are still expected to pay renewal fees by the due date, which coincides with the expiration date on your current permit. It is the responsibility of the permit holder to make sure renewal fees are paid on time regardless of receiving a renewal invoice from the district. You might be asking yourself, what happens if you miss the permit renewal deadline? If payment is missed by the renewal date, the permit immediately enters expired status. It's considered a violation under Rule 40H2, and we may or may not issue one depending on the current circumstances. Late fees begin accruing monthly, increasing the cost each month the permit remains unpaid. For the first 6 months, the permit stays in expired status and can still be renewed by paying the invoice and late fees. If it's still unpaid after 6 months, the permit moves into retired status. Expiration and retirement letters are also sent to the facility approximately 2 weeks after the expiration date and again after the retirement date. What's the difference between an expired and a retired permit? An expired permit is a permit that is 0 to 6 months past the due date of renewal. Late fees accrue monthly during this time, and they can reach up to 100% of the fee amount. The permit can still be renewed by paying all outstanding fees. Once you've hit 6 months past the due date, a permit is considered retired. To reinstate, payment of all back fees and a $75 reinstatement fee per Rule 40H3 is required, as well as a written formal request to do so. Up to 1 year past the due date, permits remain retired but can still be reinstated if all fees, including the reinstatement fee, are paid. Permit fees versus violation penalties. First, let's recap late permit fees and how that works out. Depending on how long the permit was expired, new application permit fees may be required. Additionally, all back fees, which are overdue renewal fees and reinstatement fees, must be paid. Once the permitted operation has returned to compliance by paying all back fees and completing all required steps, then the violation settlement process can begin. So what is the violation settlement process? A little background is that the California Health and Safety Code allows the district to assess penalties for violations of district rules and regulations and to engage in a violation settlement process. This allows us to settle violations without court proceedings and deters future noncompliance. What are some of the enforcement and compliance impacts associated with these violations? Each day a facility is operating with an expired or retired permit, this can significantly increase penalties. It can require payment of back fees in addition to new application costs, and can also reach several thousands of dollars and take time to process a new permit application. If the facility does not return to compliance, the district may petition for an abatement order, which authorizes further enforcement action. An abatement order usually seeks to cease operation of a facility. Under the California Health and Safety Code, violation of an abatement order can result in additional penalties of up to $25,000 per day. Additionally, during the permitting process, facilities would still be considered out of compliance and subject to penalties for each day of operation with an expired permit. Let's discuss contact updates versus ownership changes. A contact update is only required when the facility representative changes. An ownership change is required when the actual ownership of the entity changes. An ownership change requires proof of entitlement, both past and new owners listed, and fees under Rule 40. Acceptable documentation includes a bill of sale, a title, a lease agreement, a transfer certificate agreement, an escrow, or a deed. There is also a non-refundable administrative fee per site that will be invoiced upon review of ownership change application and supporting documentation. It's not required for a contact update. The most current ownership change fee can be found in Rule 40 or by contacting the district. When a facility sells their business to another, a transfer of ownership of the permit must also be completed. Examples of what constitutes an ownership change versus a contact update are listed on our website. Ownership change is only allowed for 18 months. If not done in this time frame, it can result in a violation, added steps, and fees in order to come back into compliance. Some of the required documentation for a transfer of ownership includes an ownership change form, which is part of the general application form. There's a box you can see in the image below where you can check for a change of ownership. We also require payment of fees associated with this process and proof of entitlement documentation signed by both previous and new owners. This ensures legal transfer and compliance. Moving on from ownership, we can now talk about inactive status options. A facility may request inactive/non-operational status for equipment that is no longer being used. It requires processing, fees, and annual renewal. Equipment cannot operate until reactivated with a new application and fees. Portable equipment under inactive status must be stored at a fixed address, and operating inactive equipment without first reactivating is a violation. Let's say a facility wants to place their equipment in inactive status if they do not plan to use it for an extended period of time. An example would be an industrial manufacturer that no longer makes a specific product but is required to still keep the manufacturing equipment in case production needs to resume in the future. Placing the equipment in inactive status allows them to keep their district permit at a reduced annual cost and avoid reapplying for permitting for the same equipment in the future, which can be a costly and lengthy process. There's also a form available on our website that is an inactivation/non-operational form. Retirement by request is used by a facility that no longer wishes to have a piece of equipment permitted by the district. So typically this would happen if they're just completely getting rid of a piece of equipment from their operation. It's a voluntary option if equipment is permanently removed from the site or the facility no longer wishes to use it. To initiate the process, facilities must submit a retirement by request form. No fees are charged for this process. The form can be submitted online via the district website. If you search for retirement by request on the district homepage or contact the district business assistants, they can help you with locating and completing the form. Let's recap and go over permit fee best practices. New application fees are due with submittal of all required application forms. Most equipment types have fixed fees, but some cases differ. Annual permit renewal fees are also due before the permit expiration date. Keep your contact information up to date for the district. This ensures invoices are sent to the correct person and address. Review your district permits quarterly to know when they should be renewed. The permit expiration date is listed on all the permits near the top. You can sign up for citizen access to view your permits, applications, and more. You can also view records in our online document library. Contact the district with ample time before renewal is due if you have any questions about the process. We are happy to help. We've talked a lot about fees when getting a permit and over the ownership of a permit throughout its lifetime. Now we can discuss kind of what those payment options are to address those fees. Payments must be made via a check or credit card. If you're paying by check, please make it payable to Air Pollution Control District. Please also make sure to label what the payment is for. Some common examples are the application number, permit number, notice of violation number. If paying by credit card over the phone, we accept Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. There is an additional transaction fee of 2.19% that will be charged by the credit card provider. The phone number is 858-586-2600. Lastly, the district is comprised of multiple departments that all have their own shared responsibilities. First, we have permit processing, which is great for submitting application forms and fee estimates. Next, we have our Fiscal Department, which is accounting. They assist with making payments for applications, renewal invoices, and notices of violation. Additionally, we have our Engineering Department. They can help with technical questions. Please be prepared to describe your equipment and reason for applying to connect you to the assigned engineer. And lastly, we have Business Assistants. Business Assistants can help you with accessing and completing application forms and general compliance inquiries, and is happy to help get you in contact with whichever department you may need to complete what you're working on. Our general line is also 858-586-2600. You can call that number and ask to speak to any of the specific divisions, and we will do our best to help you guys out and make sure you're taken care of. Thank you.